You're listening to Anna Moulder on ABC New South Wales.
Here's till 6 and good to have your company this afternoon. Well, it's been a pretty horrible year, hasn't it, for weather emergencies, from flooding on the northern rivers, not once but twice earlier this year, to the recent flooding across the Hunter, the mid-north coast and out in the west as well. Still plenty of water moving out west. And sometimes with these weather events comes the advice to not drink the tap water. A boiled water alert is issued because water treatment systems have been damaged or are down. And a boil water alert has been current for the Dubbo local government area for the past week or so now. Mathew Dickerson is the Mayor for the Dubbo Regional Council. Mayor, hello.
G'day Anna, how are you going?
I'm well. How's it looking in Dubbo? Is the boil water alert still in place for the region?
Still in place at the moment. We have been producing water of the appropriate quality since 6:18pm last Thursday, but there's been about 10 hours of water that went into our reservoir system that was above the 0.5 NTU, that's the benchmark for Australian drinking water standards. So that 10 hours unfortunately meant that there's a potential contamination across our reservoirs, and even though we've had 7 days of good water going in, there's still that possibility that maybe there's just a slight amount of contamination, so we've still got to have that boil water alert in place at the moment.
Extraordinary. So what is causing the issues with the local town water supply right now?
If we go back a little bit, you talked about some of those weather events there in your intro. If you go back to 2019, we obviously had this terrible drought across so much of the state, and in that drought you had more animals coming down looking for water supply, obviously trying to get some water, and they obviously go to the toilet. So there was more fecal matter along the riverbanks of the rivers, and unfortunately you did have animals die during that, so there were more carcasses. And they've been there for a period of time, and then with this extra water, and I don't want to call it a flood because it's nowhere near something like Lismore had, so let's call it a flood event, and that put a whole lot of extra water down up onto those riverbanks and brought a whole lot of debris down past our water treatment plant. So the water became very turbid, and as that turbidity increased, the water treatment plant is designed to be able to handle that increased turbidity, but it just got to the level where the turbidity was so high it couldn't actually treat it to a level that, again, 0.5 NTU is what it's got to be under. We were getting water about 0.52 NTU, and that triggered the whole process of notifying New South Wales Health, going through a process to notify our community about a boil water alert. The real risk here is that if the NTU, if that nephelometric turbidity unit gets to 0.5 or above, it can be hiding some cryptosporidium. So effectively, you might get a crypto outbreak in your community. Very low risk, but let's face it, we're dealing with people's health here, so it's not worth taking risks on.
And it can make people very sick, can't it? So clearly a lot of work being done to get your water supply back up right now, but are you in council working to find a long-term solution to this issue?
I think that's a really important point, again, not just for Dubbo, but across the entire state and across the entire country. We have got a more variable climate. We're going to have more climate events. We're going to have more droughts. We're going to have more rains. So we need to find solutions for this. Now, in our case, which may not be the same for every council with every water treatment plant, with our case, we've got a reasonable sized bore network, so we can switch over away from our river to the bore network, which is what we did in this scenario, but we can't take 100% of our water for our city out of the bores. So we just couldn't get enough out of the bores to satisfy our supply, so we had to take some out of the river network. If we get to the stage, and this was part of our plan anyway, part of our resilience plan, if we took all the water out of our bores, then we would have been able to avoid this bore water alert. But it's expensive to have more bores, it's expensive to run those pipelines back to the water treatment plant. So that was a process we had in place based around drought readiness. We weren't actually thinking around too much water being a problem for our bore network, but as it turned out, it would have been quite handy at the moment with this increased water flow coming down the river.
Our guest this afternoon, Mayor of Dubbo Regional Council, Mathew Dickerson. So how seriously then do you think councils right across the state should be making plans to secure water treating systems in the case of further weather emergencies and to avoid events just like you're going through at the moment?
I hope that the example we've had here, Anna, actually says to some councils out there, some water treatment plants, we really need to be ready for this. You've got all these plans in place, and we only upgraded our water treatment facility back in 2006, so it's not that old in the scheme of things. We spent $23 million on a plant, and I remember on council the discussions at the time, we were going to have this in place for at least the next 30 years. It really set us up for the future, made us a water resilient community, which it has done in terms of the volume of water, but we never expected back in 2006 to have this sort of event and this amount of turbidity coming down the river. I think what we will see here is other communities, other water treatment plants, other engineers saying, we really need to learn from what happened in Dubbo and see if our plant is ready to handle these more extreme weather events, because really they're not things that we planned for 10, 20 years ago. They're not things we maybe even planned for 5 years ago. Most people are worried about, can they get enough water into their water treatment facility in times of drought? So we really have to think about things a little bit differently now.
So a boil water alert remains in place for now. How long do you think until the water for Dubbo will be back to normal and drinkable again?
Yeah, that is the question, Anna. That is the question. If I had that answer, it would be fantastic. We initially said it would take at least 7 days once we had clean water coming into our system to get to the point where our reservoirs had taken away that contamination enough. Now, we're doing some calculations and we're having discussions with New South Wales Health, Water New South Wales, and we're all disagreeing slightly on the numbers to say when we should come out. I was hoping that we might have actually come out of it today. We've had 7 days of good water going into our reservoirs. We've actually been flushing out our reservoirs into the stormwater system to get that flow going through quicker. So we're almost there, but we're having some disagreements with New South Wales Health. They want to see it down to a 0.1% contamination level, which again, we're arguing about the maths at the moment. So I can't tell you that answer. Again, I was hopeful of today, maybe by Monday, at least the main reservoirs, because we do have 3 main reservoirs that then feed out to the other reservoirs. But it is complicated because you only need to put a certain amount of water into a reservoir and then potentially that whole reservoir is contaminated. So you then got to get enough water going through the system that we can minimise that risk. So it's a complicated process and something that really we only had water at that contaminated level for 10 hours going into the system, and now 7 days later we still have that boil water alert on.
Well, water consistently, one of the most intricate issues we deal with here across the state. For those who are buying water, are you still seeing enough being brought in, bottled water on the shelves for the community to buy, or are you seeing shortages there in the shops as well, Matthew?
No, the lucky part is it's not like COVID-19 with toilet paper. It's not affecting the entire nation. When we put the boil water alert out last Thursday morning at 8 a.m, we actually then told the supermarkets that it would be a good idea for them to increase their supplies. So they did all do that. And now when you walk into most supermarkets around Dubbo, you'll see a pallet or two of bottled water at the entrance to the store. The thing that I've been hearing from the community, though, and I've been getting out and talking to various businesses, various individuals, just to see what the feeling is, most people are just actually doing what we've instructed in terms of boil the water. They're turning on their tap, they're filling up their kettle, they're boiling the water, and then they're pouring it down into a few drinking bottles or glasses, whatever it might be. So most people are doing it that way. The thing that's the clumsiest about that, Anna, which I hadn't really experienced before, was cleaning your teeth. It's actually really clumsy cleaning your teeth when you've got a glass of water is the only thing you can use. It's quite interesting the things that you miss. It seems so simple to turn on a tap and clean your teeth, but when you've got to do it out of a bottle of water or out of a glass of water, it seems very clumsy. But people are being pretty good with that, but we do have enough supplies of bottled water, but most people are using the water that's still coming out of their tap after boiling it.
Well, we'll certainly be staying in touch, obviously, your local ABC too. Mathew Dickerson, thanks for spending some time with us on the water issue today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Anna. Good to be chatting again.
Yeah, Mayor of the Dubbo Regional Council, Mathew Dickerson, here on ABC Radio New South Wales. It does beg a greater question here, though, doesn't it? How can we protect our water systems and security as we face more weather emergencies? Professor Stuart Kahn is a water expert in the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering at the University of New South Wales. Professor Kahn, hello.
Hi, Anna.
What should local and state governments be doing right now to protect drinking water into the future?
I really enjoyed listening to what the Mayor had to say.